So, Keren Moynihan, really glad to chat with you. My understanding and my recollection is that you were a banker, and you've got a law degree, MBA. You've built a business, Boss Insights, as founder and co-founder and CEO. Keren, I'm really glad to have a chance to chat with you because you've got an interesting business model and opportunity that you're building. So, let's get started with you just telling us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much, Senator Deacon. It's amazing to be chatting with you this morning,
Oh,
and thank you for your time.
great.
Um, yeah, so Boss Insights, we started in 2017, and we had this very large vision. We wanted to give banks, credit unions, fintechs, alternative lenders, anyone that puts their life energy into supporting businesses, the easiest way to grab the most amount of information on those businesses. And we give it to them in less than 1 minute. They can grab accounting information or financial or marketing. They get access to that in 1 minute so that they can support the businesses that they work with every day.
So you're helping banks and credit unions
Mm-hmm.
to access information on their customers so that
Yes.
they can do a better job of doing their job.
Yes, exactly. When I started as a banker in 2010, and unfortunately, when I talk to bankers now in 2020, the situation is much the same. You're hired to be a relationship manager. It's so exciting to get that job because you feel like you're going to be an advisor, the key between them and one of the top critical issues for businesses at this time, which is access to capital. But really, you're a paper pusher. You have to grab their paper, you have to process that paper, you have to then send it to credit so you can argue with them. And there were not enough chocolate boxes in the world to send at Christmas time to thank the credit officers for my tenacity as I supported those businesses. But really, the world has moved on. If you're an e-commerce store and you don't want to build that network, those pipelines, you go to Shopify or you go to Amazon. What Boss Insights really is the Shopify for data. And we just add this easy button. If you want to understand who your business customer is in real time, not once a year looking historically, not making a decision about a business's future by looking in the rearview mirror, but really using a telescope to see where they're going, to get a 360-degree view that you can use whenever you want it.
Give me a sense of the scale of the data, and I gather you're gathering data, you're scrubbing the web, whatever you're getting from a lot of different sources, data on that business.
Mm-hmm.
How does that compare to what's being looked at right now? I mean, the banks are looking at this slice, and you're broadening it out by how much?
Um, honestly, they're looking at maybe a tip of the iceberg is the image we use, and then we're providing the whole iceberg. Really, when banks or any lenders are looking at businesses, they're looking at external sources of data. So they'll look at credit scoring companies, and we all know credit scoring companies have done a tremendous amount of work. Some of them we work with through some programs where we're grabbing that information as well, and they are benefiting as a result. However, it's external. We all know it's biased. We all know that it doesn't really evaluate the business. If you want to understand a business, you need to look at their internal information, and you need to give them an easy way to send that to you. And what banks and credit unions have been doing there is looking at financial statements, which they take a piece of paper and then they calculate the piece of paper. But as a former commercial banker running hundreds of loans and second-time founder, as a company that secured financing from a Canadian bank this year, I am not encapsulated by financial statements, and nobody else ever has been. It's one part of the story.
When it's a snapshot that looks backwards, it's not a telescope looking forwards.
Yes, and they're taking that snapshot in the most manual way possible. It's like walking to the well to get your data, instead of acknowledging that there are pipelines that you can just turn on and it comes in at you in insight form. And fintechs have done a slightly better job. They'll look at payments. So they take third-party information saying that businesses are going to earn money, and they see that in real time. But those still are only two slices. We literally, as an industry, invest looking at numbers businesses put on Excel sheets rather than looking at who they're talking to and who they're selling to.
Yeah,
So,
and what the traction is that they're getting, and how big the pipeline is, and whether or not it's growing. So give me some sense of the scale. You're operating in Canada and the US. Where are you getting traction, and how big is the opportunity Give me a sense of that.
Okay, the opportunity is quite vast, and this is tough because Canada is so supportive of their entrepreneurs. We are here by virtue of the fact that you're supporting entrepreneurs. Ministers like Minister Mary Ng are supporting entrepreneurs, and we have personally benefited from all of those efforts. However, I don't know that I'm going to surprise anybody by saying that most of the opportunity to gain traction will be south of the border.
Yeah.
So we are doing most of our sales efforts to target the banks, credit unions, alternative lenders, and there are 15,000 of them south of the border, and they are more willing to work with fintechs. They have
Well, there's more competition, so they've got to.
yeah, that's exactly it. See, we say the same word. We say bank, but actually in one place it means oligopoly, and in another place it means competition. And when you have competition, you are more willing to look at, should I buy technology and literally acquire it for myself? Should I build it in-house, or should I partner with other firms? And that is why there's so much more action happening south of the border. Here, really, I've heard from banks say they are build shops, and they will take 1.5 years to put together, let's say, 3 access points to accounting software. Well, in 1 minute, Boss Insights can give you 10. You asked about the scope. We have 800 independent data sources on businesses, and banks are looking at 1, financial statements and its manual.
So but give me a sense of the size of the loan flow that you're dealing with, and it's where, I mean, recently I just asked the Library of Parliament to summarize a Philadelphia Fed paper that showed how the alternative data that is used by fintech lenders is identifying what they described as being invisible prime borrowers from within the unbanked or uncreditworthy, quote unquote, population in the United States. And that to me is so powerful. These are people that if you look at different sets of data than the tiny slice that has been traditionally used in the banking system, you open up opportunity for people that would otherwise not have access to that opportunity. Give me a sense of that scale that you're looking at within the banks and credit unions and other lenders that you're working with.
Every day, while you and I are recording this today, 8,000 businesses will walk into banks and credit unions and alternative lenders, and they will ask for loans and they will get declined.
Which country?
The United States.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we can't even get that information really in Canada. So if anyone has access to it, please send it our way.
Okay.
But we're looking at the United States, and that's just a small fraction of what the problem is. Now, those same financial institutions are bending over backwards to try and find new sources of business to lend to. And as interest rates continue to go down, they'd like to serve them in other areas. But without any functionality to do so, it's really just a lost opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, we serve loan sizes in the small and medium business range. We could call that, let's say, 50,000, all the way up to the commercial range, anywhere up to 25 or $30 million. It's when a business gets so big that they start using bespoke tech, that's where we stop. But the range of support, this is another area where we offer added value. It's not just in the small and medium businesses where, if you look at the US market, a lot of banks have decided to almost wash their hands of it. It's too costly, it's too risky. Here we have a way to make it absolutely possible, and a way for the bank to say, we understand you, business, we're gonna meet you where you are.
So you make it affordable for them to do the analysis, fast for them to do the analysis, and more confidence in terms of what the result of that analysis produces.
Yeah. What would it look like if you didn't have to go to the business? We've all been there where we go to a bank and we sign 30 pages thinking to ourselves, why am I writing my name again? You know me, right? Well, businesses go through that every time. And it did not matter how much I qualified a business, I had to always get them to be requalified. Well, what if you had on-demand access to data, your review process? It's just really the benefits.
So I got the value. Let's look forward. Where are you heading, Keren? What do you think the optimal opportunity is here for your company, building from Toronto? Where do you think you can go? And give us a sense of your vision. Then I want to talk about the barriers that you're facing.
Absolutely. So in terms of the vision, what Boss Insights started, and it was really a tech meets fin story, somebody scaling Amazon, realizing that, oh my goodness, you have these insights, you really have the keys to the kingdom. We are headed to a world where businesses can be measured on their merit in addition to their collateral. You don't have to throw away what's been happening for the last 200 years, but we are in a different world now, and you can add to it because we have a way to do so.
And you can quantify merit.
You can quantify merit, and it's an unbiased approach. Data is the Achilles heel of bias. So you can really look at businesses and meet them where they are. We're headed to work
I like
with
that.
Oh, it's what gets me excited every day. And it's what had us offering our tech for free at the beginning of COVID to any lender willing to fund a business. So that's where we're headed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's
You tried to get it adopted as best you could when it was needed most.
yes. And for offering that, there was a contributing author to Forbes that picked us up, and that's how Oracle found us. And that's why, when you put your tech out there, people see it and they will help you. And from there, things just snowballed.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
So you got a big vision, and what I get excited about, Keren, is by helping the banks and credit unions, you're helping business. And if there's a time in our lives in the last several generations that we need to be doing that and focusing on that more than now, I don't know what it is. So that's what gets me excited, is those businesses that are going to get access to credit, those new ideas rising from the ashes of a lost business, that'll get access to credit that otherwise might not. So that's what gets me really excited. I want to spend a few minutes, if I can, before we wrap up, on what are the sort of big challenges you're seeing from a regulatory standpoint, from a growth standpoint. How do we get those barriers out of the way so that you can actually move towards that vision faster?
As an industry, we need to do a better job of not putting it just on the company, the fintech itself, to sell to these large players. What I'm talking about is if we could just do a couple minor tweaks to the system as is, we would be able to empower banks to measure which tech firm is the partner they want to buy or partner with. Things like adding competition requirements into regulation would go a long way. And it's
Agreed.
not as though I'm saying anything untoward. There are economies like the UK who are doing this quite successfully.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is there are so many industry players. South of the border, they are industry specific, the accelerators. North of the border, they're more general. And if we take an industry focused lens, then we can teach banks and credit unions and alternative lenders how to evaluate fintechs. When we were onboarding our first top 5 Canadian bank, the vetting process was longer than the sales process because we went through standard vendor due diligence. There should be a fintech due diligence and a vendor due diligence, and those two things would really go a long way.
Yeah.
I hear the echoes. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
No, but there's such an opportunity here that's specific, and it's an enabling opportunity throughout the whole economy, and it takes a higher level of understanding of the factors, and so you've got to specialize without question. But I look at the opportunity being something that if we could just get Finance Canada and others and the banks to really understand when they are fintech empowered, when our banking system is fintech enabled, the opportunities to take the trust and the credibility of our banks, which are phenomenal around the world, and scale to deliver more valuable, more effective services. It's just phenomenal. And this is a story that, to me, helps to really understand how achievable that is today.
We have an excellent opportunity here. I think Canada tends to think of themselves in terms of natural resources. But I'll tell you, Boston Insights was part of 4 fintech programs. 3 came out of the city of Boston last year. I told any politician, mayor, anyone who would give me the time of day that we have an opportunity here. Now, that might have been a little drowned out by the emergency of COVID, but those players want access to the Canadian market, and they already have a playbook that works. So we have an opportunity to really productize something and get it south of the border, not just for Boss Insights, but for all the fintechs coming out of this Canadian ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Keren, listen, I'm really grateful for you taking the time just to give me more insight into Boss Insights and the business you are building. And it really is a great example of what we can do. And thanks.
Thank you so much for this time.